Hello, all you superhumans out there. I'm Sally Knopp. We're going to talk about the eerie and mysterious synchronicities and why they might be happening and why it's important for you to pay attention to it. Now, I have made some notes, and I got to tell you, I knew this was going on some level, but to the degree it was going on, kind of blew my mind today. And I was quite anxious to get on and talk to y'all about this. And what we're going to be discussing is Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy and synchronicities. Also, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I think the synchronicities are, why they're there, and how you can start identifying and why it's important for you to identify it going on in your own lives. All right, so just to kind of get into this was what was so cool. Um, and I'm going to be looking over here at my notes because I actually have them up because there was no way I could ever keep this like in my own little pea brain of mine. So I'll go through the notes. Now we're talking about President Abraham Lincoln and President John F. Kennedy, two of the most astounding presidents in America's time. Now, it was interesting to me that both of their elections were actually contested. So, that seems to be the age-old thing. All elections seem to be contested. And it certainly was in both of their cases. And part of the reason why the Civil War erupted back in 1860, 1861 on the firing of Fort Sumter. And that was the big fiasco that Abraham Lincoln had to deal with back during those way back times. All right, so here we go. Here is the interesting list that I think you're all going to be like blown away by. Lincoln elected to Congress in 1864. John F. Kennedy was also elected in 1964, 100 years apart. Lincoln elected to president in 1860. So in November of 1860, he won the Republican as a Republican, and that's the interesting thing too. He won as a Republican in 1860 as president, and then was inaugurated in 1861. Kennedy was elected as a Democrat in November of 1960 and inaugurated, of course, in 1961. Abraham Lincoln had a vice president, Andrew Johnson, born in 1808. Kennedy had vice president Lyndon Johnson, born in 1908. Lincoln had four children and two died. One died while in the White House. Kennedy also had four children. I believe Jackie, I think she miscarried late. And then also, I think she had another child that died a few days later, and he was in the White House. They had four children total. Two survived them both, which was good. I would hate for Jackie to lose one of her children. Um, let's see. Lincoln's doctor was Charles Taft. Kennedy's doctor's name was Charles Taft. I mean, gosh, even if you wrote this in a fiction book, people would be like, nobody's going to buy that. The private secretary's first name for Lincoln was John. Private secretary's first name for Kennedy was Lincoln. President Lincoln was shot in box number 7 at Ford's Theater. Kennedy was shot in car number 7 in a Ford Lincoln. Both were killed in front of their wife. Both were shot in the head. Agent Baker detained Booth. I think that was kind of on a bridge out of Washington at the time. But anyway, he was in a law enforcement capacity and detained Booth for a period of time. Kennedy's Officer Baker held Oswald in custody. This is crazy. It doesn't end there. The assassin for Kennedy was shot before the trial. Assassin for Lincoln was also shot before the trial. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both were involved in civil rights. The vice president's name for Lincoln was 13, vice president, excuse me, for Lincoln was Andrew Johnson, and it holds 13 letters. The VP name for President Kennedy was Lyndon Johnson, also 13 letters. The other thing I wanted to let you guys also know, and this came later, Lincoln and Kennedy both have 7 letters. John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald both have 15 letters, and both are referred by their 3 names. And both Lincoln and Kennedy were accompanied by another couple. Vice President served under Lincoln, the vice president served as a senator, a Democrat from the South. Kennedy, vice president, Lyndon B. Johnson, served as a senator, a Democrat from the South. And each were warned not to go where they were going by their secretaries. Lincoln's secretary warned him not to go to the theater, and Kennedy's secretary warned him not to go to Dallas. Now, I think it probably goes well beyond that, but I mean, geez, after that, that was exhausting. And you begin to think, what is going on? I mean, that is astounding for anything. So I tuned in energetically to that because for those of you who follow me and those who don't, I hope you join. I hope you join my little channel and let's grow it and share it because I'm all about empowering everybody, helping people tune in to the higher selves and sort of figuring out the world's mysteries and your own mysteries. So I tuned in to ask what is going on here, try to tease that out a little bit. Now, the information that I'm getting is going to be, you have to take everything with a grain of salt when you're going through somebody else for answers. So this is something that I tell all my clients. You know what? If it resonates with you, then it feels right. It is right because everybody has their own matrix that they're living in. So I don't want to say that somebody else's opinion might be wrong. It might be right for them in whatever matrix they've got going on. But all I can do is give you what I get energetically. And you can place it in whatever box you deem necessary. So please, if you don't agree, it's okay. Keep scrolling. It's just okay. I'm just giving you what I get. I'm just humble little Low Sally, sitting here doing energy work. All right. So what I got is that John F. Kennedy, his blueprint energetic field. Now that's different than an imprint energetic field. The blueprint energetic field means the person actually was involved in that particular lifetime. An imprint means that you know that when you are on your pre-birth planning, that you know that you're going to put some obstacles in this life. And maybe you've not had a past life to intuit how to get through the experience. So what you do to get ready before you come over is that you look at somebody who might have had those experiences, and then you can therefore take a page out of their book. So when you're going through an experience, you have something that goes back and you can intuit your way through it. I should do it this way. Yeah, that feels right. Or that feels maybe I shouldn't do it. And so what those two energies are a borrowed experience or one that you actually experienced yourself. Now, imprints are common. When you have people who say they've had many lives as all these important like warriors, for example, like I was, Constantine and I was Caesar and I was, Alexander the Great and Napoleon Bonaparte and George Washington or whoever, and they believe wholeheartedly, they believe that. And maybe they might have even seen that in a past life. Oftentimes we can see that, but unless the QHHT practitioner is savvy enough to say, is this part of their blueprint energetic field or is this part of their blueprint energetic field? It's going to come in and feel the same. And it'll feel the same as you go through. Now, there are people who take several pages out of many books because whatever they're going to experience, just say, for example, you have somebody that is in our world today and they have their past lives where they were all these great military heroes, for example, and they've had some meditation where they could see and feel that they were them, or that they went through a hypnosis session and they saw that they were them. Again, unless there's somebody saying, is this an imprint or a blueprint, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. But what that energy has done is taken the pages oftentimes, because not very many, I don't know anybody at this point that's done every, famous person yet. Usually most people live very dull lives, and Dolores Cannon was great. She would say digging the potatoes, very dull lives. And occasionally we come in as somebody very significant because we all have these roles to play. Sometimes we're significant and most of the time we're not. But when they come in with that pattern, it's generally because they want to have the warrior experience and they want, before they come in and they know they're going to be the warrior for this lifetime, then they'll adopt all these different perspectives. So when they have difficult situations that they have to navigate through in this lifetime, they will have all this information that they can intuit into in order to bring forward to have success on the battlefield or wherever, whatever challenges that they have designed for themselves to go through. I hope that makes sense. If not, give me a comment in the box below and we'll start a discussion and kind of figure that out. Now, when I tuned into John F. Kennedy, I asked, is Abraham Lincoln a part of your imprint or blueprint? And I definitely got blueprint, which isn't it interesting? Oh my gosh, I even have goosebumps like those affirmation chills right now just saying it. But Lincoln, if you think about it, first of all, he never felt he was very handsome. In fact, he called himself very homely. And he probably wasn't considered much of a looker, and probably why girls didn't pay attention to him, although he was probably the kindest human being on the planet, you know, um, except for Mary. She wanted him. She could see where he was headed and she wanted that life. So at any rate, and then you have John F. Kennedy, who women swooned after. And in fact, my own mother, a registered Republican back in 1960, voted for John F. Kennedy because he was so good looking. So I find that funny. I think most of us have evolved today. We sort of look at their policies and not, they're good looking. But, John F. Kennedy was a good president. Or so I feel personally. And as was Lincoln. Um, excellent in my mind because they got us both through some very trying times. Lincoln got us through the Civil War, back in 1865. And then, of course, Kennedy got us through the missile crisis with Cuba. So yeah, both really great, great human beings. So that's interesting to me that, that kind of went opposite. And that is That's actually pretty typical. When I'm doing QHHD sessions with people, they come in and so they may have come in with some deformities and they wanted to learn how to accept themselves for who they are, and even though society rejects them. And or whatever reason, it's that this whole consciousness tapping into the infinite mind and the subconscious, the higher self is so interesting to me. And that is part of when they come back as now I want a normal body where maybe people find me more pleasant to look at. And I want to know, what is it like to be bombarded with people adoring me? That also happens. So the contrast is so interesting because, in a way, on a subconscious level or higher form, they're having to learn to accept themselves for the spirit energy that they are and not what the package is. It can be a bit daunting, and oftentimes we miss the mark, right? And we get tied up in feeling a victim, or we get caught up in feeling, this bolster of everybody thinks I'm beautiful. And then all of a sudden you begin to get this narcissistic view of yourself, right? And then that's a whole other challenge in of itself. But they're both there for soul expansion. The other thing too I find interesting, Lincoln grew up dirt poor and had to be self-taught and educated for the most part. And then here John F. Kennedy was lived a life of, excuse me, privilege. Again, it's often the contrast, but still walking and doing the same thing. Now, the synchronicities is the part that I find so fascinating. And when I tuned in to that larger entity or that infinite mind, or tapping into what I call the ether internet to find out what was going on with John F. Kennedy, aka Abraham Lincoln, um, the reason this came forward was that it feels like there was a barrier that was really strong there that he was not paying attention to, John F. Kennedy. And so if he had done a little bit of looking at that, oh, isn't that interesting that Lincoln got elected to Congress in 1846? And isn't it interesting that we're both elected president in 1860, 1960? Well, isn't it interesting, that both of our presidents were last names Johnson, born in 1808, 1908? If he had started to pay attention to those synchronicities, he might have, before he died, and who knows? I mean, who knows? Dolores Cannon says nobody dies in any way but the way it's planned. And that probably could be. But maybe on occasion, maybe the part she never got to, maybe the part we all need to be exploring, and the question we need to be asking, are synchronicities there for us to recognize as a pattern to find out what we're doing wrong and what we need to adjust for our own lives? Now, had John F. Kennedy, went through and made this comparison, he might have had, this is a little woo-woo. And if this is a little woo-woo, maybe when I'm warned not to go to Dallas, I should probably not go to Dallas. Because he was warned not to go to the theater and it didn't end well for him. If he had paid attention to the patterns, then he might have started asking the self-discovery questions. What is going on here? Now, when I tune in, now there are psychics or psychic mediums who will tell you that synchronicities are your guides coming in. That's not how I'm getting it. I don't know if it's not the way it is, or if it wasn't the way it is for Lincoln Kennedy. I don't like to speak in absolutisms because I think the matrix, the energy field in which we navigate, can be different for everybody. So, what might be in that reality for me may be in a different reality for you. It goes to the multi universe theory, and that goes down into another rabbit hole of quantum physics. Um, But I kind of get irritated personally when people talk about absolutisms and nope, this is the way it is. It's your guides telling you this. I'm just saying be open and see where it goes. You will know what resonates for you because when it feels right, your body feels light, your body sings with you. Your higher self, your subconscious mind will sing with the information that you're being fed. You're like, oh, that's right. But remember, it's right in the universal bubble that you are in. So therefore, what might be right for, say, this psychic medium, they may be shown that their synchronicities by their guides. We don't know that. But in some cases, it is our higher self that is saying, you need to pay attention to this pattern. And so when I delve into that a little bit further, we choose these events, these patterns that show up in our pre-birth plan. And it's meant to help us stay on track. And if we get off track, because maybe we know in advance that we're going to be easily distracted by the bright, shiny objects, that perhaps it's there as a pattern to remind us, stop. You need to pull back and look at the pattern. And how many people do I work with that have come with the same type of relationships? They get involved with the same kind of people and they get involved with the same kind of pattern of behavior that's destructive. And until we have a QHHT session or we have an energy clearing session, remote energy healing, we can tap in to these energies, the past lives that most affect you today. We can tap into your energetic field and find out why you're having these patterns and how best to shift out of those. It's going to be different for everybody. And it's not always just your guides giving it to you. Sometimes it is your higher self trying to get you back on track. But it can't do that unless you start recognizing there's a pattern of behavior. And then the question is, why do I have the pattern of behavior? And what can I do to break it and move forward? Remember, this channel is about igniting the superhuman in you. And I hope that you like this little video about synchronicities, the eerie things that we talked about, and why it's important for you to pay attention to the patterns in your life and see what is causing that. And if it's not pleasant, if it's taking you down a unpleasant path or destructive path, if you have lack of abundance in your life, why don't you give me a call and we'll talk about it and see what's going on with you. I hope that you like this video, and if you can, share it with those who are like-minded and open. And then if you haven't subscribed to this video, I hope that you do subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again on future videos where we talk about all things woo. Go out there and ignite the superhuman in you. And by the way, before I close, if you've not looked at how to dissolve clouds on my YouTube channel, go watch that video because I'm all about, I don't have special juju. You have it too. So let's get going and ignite the superhuman in you. Go challenge yourself. For now, take care. And again, thank you for watching.